Hello, my friends. Today I thought I'd do an experiment with you on the nature of reality and the nature of being and the nature of existence. Bear with me. This is not a simple exercise or reflection or meditation. You may want to watch this video several times before you quote unquote get it. So let me start by saying that the reason that religion exists or spirituality exists is because as humans, we have the imagination and the mind to know that what we call our existence is time-bound. We are born, we go through several phases, childhood, teenage, young adult, mature adult, older adult, all the way to dusty death. And so we know that there is old age, infirmity, death, and frequently disease, and therefore a lot of human suffering. And the desire to go beyond suffering has been the basis of all religion and spirituality. So today, let me share with you a very practical reflection, exercise, meditation, whatever you want to call it, that may help you go beyond the fears of old age, infirmity, death, disease, and suffering, which seems to be universal. So forever, people have proposed that there's a God somewhere out there. And in many cases, that God is conceptualized as a dead white male in the sky, which no one has found. Others have spoken of archetypes and angels and divine beings and, peaceful and wrathful deities. And these are all also projections of the human mind. So what is reality? What is reality? And I think we can start this exercise by asking three questions only. One is, what are you? Notice I didn't say, who are you? I said, what are you? What are you? And, because when we say, who are you, as the question, we automatically assume, or at least there is the assumption, that who implies a person, that you're a person. And I hope to convince you that that is the biggest hallucination and the cause of every problem that we have in existence as human beings. So instead of saying, who are you? I'm asking you, what are you? The second question I'm asking is, where are you? In other words, where is the experience of existence happening? And then the third question is, when are you? When, in what slice of space-time do you exist in the universe? Okay, what are you? Where are you? When are you? Okay, so let's start this with a little exercise that I have actually derived from the teaching of Werner Erhard. And, Werner Erhard is still around. I think he lives in Europe. He was and is, I think, one of the most brilliant minds, and therefore the following experiment is a slight variation of what he has taught in the past, but I may go a little bit beyond that. Let's see how this expression of mine evolves, because what I'm saying is spontaneous and not planned. Other than, The spontaneity comes from a lot of reflection and reading and learning and meditating and experience. Okay, so let's start with the first exercise. We all assume that what we call I, I Deepak Chopra, or I, Paul Smith, or I, Mary Jo. I'm now referring to what is called a person. That I is somewhere here and everything else is somewhere there. So if I asked you, where are you? You'd probably point to yourself. I'm here. And when I said, where am I? You'd probably point to the computer screen. Now look at any object around you. It could be a phone or a book. Okay. It could be a book or any object. Let's choose that object and call it that. Okay. So now if I asked you, where are you? You'd say, I'm here. And where is that object? Where is that? You'd say, out there. Okay. Now let's take one of our perceptions and let's choose one perception only, but the principle applies to all our five senses. So let's choose the one perception called seeing. Where is the experience of seeing happening? Where is the experience of seeing happening? If I said, let's choose this as an example. Where is the experience of seeing this book happening? And you might point to your eyes, which are 9 centimeters apart, about 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. Your retina is curved. And by the time photons enter your eyes, they go through a lens inverted. They also cross wires. So if the experience of seeing me or seeing any object is happening in your eyes, you would see two of those objects, 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters by about 7 centimeters. So obviously, the experience of seeing, the experience of where seeing is happening, the experience, once again, of where seeing is happening is not happening in your eyes. There are no two little books or two little objects or two little persons upside down in your eyes. There are certain, what we might say, correlates of that experience, electrochemical correlates, but the experience of seeing is not happening in your eyes. You might then point to your brain and say, what's happening here? And yes, a lot is happening here in the head, in the brain, but is seeing or perceiving happening in the brain? Is the experience of seeing happening in the brain? Don't even say is seeing happening in the brain. Is the experience of seeing happening in the brain? And the answer is, if it is, then if you're looking at this room or any room, or you're looking at a mountain, then how does that mountain or the room or whatever you're seeing fit inside your brain, which is about 10 centimeters by 7 centimeters by 14 centimeters in size? Okay, so something is happening in this magical instrument that we call the brain, electrochemistry. But is the experience of seeing happening in the brain? It would be very difficult to convince anyone that the experience or any experience is happening in the brain. In fact, if you put a knife through the brain, there's no pain. So the experience of pain doesn't happen in the brain. The brain can't even experience itself. All it experiences is electrochemistry, and at a very fundamental level, just ions, sodium and potassium, going across cell membranes. So let's agree that the experience of seeing is not happening in the eyes or the brain. And then you might say the experiences of seeing this book or that mountain or that star or that tree is happening out there, out there. The experience is happening out there. And then, of course, that leads to an immediate dilemma. If you are in here, how's the experience of seeing a mountain happening out there? Because you are here and not out there. You're not out there. You're here, or at least you assume that you're here and the mountain is out there. Okay, so that is also absurd. If I'm here, and then how is the experience of that mountain, or the perception of that mountain happening there, or that star, or that tree, or that object, or that person? I'm here. That's out there. This is our assumption, right? So this assumption is beginning to fall apart right now as we go through this exercise, that I am here. There's no little Deepak inside this brain looking at the world through the eyes. And the mountain experience is there, but I am here. Kind of leads to a interesting conundrum. So let's then try another proposition. The experience is not happening here. The experience is not happening where the object is. The experience is happening here. What Werner Erhard has called out here, not out there, not in here, but out here. What is out here? Out here is space. And normally we think of the space as that which engulfs all objects. A pretty good way of thinking. So the space around me engulfs the object called Deepak Chopra, but also engulfs the object I call the computer and everything else happening in the computer. And the experience of everything. The mountain so-called out there, the Milky Way galaxy out there, the tree out there, and the experience of the object called Deepak Chopra with his body, his mind, which is continuously changing anyway. It's not a noun, it's a verb. And why don't we say that the experience of all objects, sentient beings, persons, animals, and whatever they're thinking, feeling, is actually happening out here in this space. Now, if we look at the space, we see boundaries. And these boundaries are created by color. Without color, look at these paintings behind me, there is no form. And without form, there is no object. The color, form, shape are what gives the experience of objects with the boundaries. But the space itself is boundless. It is infinite. It has no boundaries. The boundaries that are there are created conceptually by colors. And where do colors exist? Where do forms exist? Where do shapes exist? They're not a property of the physical world. Colors, shapes, forms are not a property of the physical world. They're perceptual experiences. And right now, the perception we're talking about is called seeing. So where is seeing happening? Seeing is happening out here in this space. And this space is infinite. In fact, this space is modifying itself as what we call sensations, sense perceptions, images, feelings, and thoughts. And then localizing itself as this object, that object, that object, that person, that animal, that rainbow, whatever. And I'm pointing to these because I think I'm here. But in fact, we are where experience is happening. And where is experience happening? Here. And what is experience? Sensations, sense perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts, all happening here. This space is who we are. This space is what we are. So then we go to the second question. If I am out here and everything else, including this observer, that observed, that observer, this observed, are all happening out here, then this is what we are out here in the infinite space. In Eastern wisdom traditions, in Vedanta, this is called Chittakash, the infinite space of consciousness that modifies itself into form and phenomena. So every object that we see, including a physical, biological object, is actually a phenomenon. And as a phenomenon, it is the arising and subsiding of sensations, sense perceptions, images, feelings, and thoughts, which are constantly changing as both the biological organism that is so-called observing and the object that is so-called being observed, when in fact it is the space that is modifying itself in the so-called observer, the so-called observed, but actually all observed is also observer. The observer is the observed because they're both differentiated aspects of Chittakash. And this is where all experience is happening, out here now. Now, in the eternal now, in the timeless now. And this is where we are. So where are you? When are you? What are you? What you are is the infinite Chittakash, the infinite formless being. Being means existence, modifying itself as all this and all that, which is the original expression. I'm that, you are that, all this is that, and that alone is. But what is that alone? It's out here, Chittakash. This Chittakash has no beginning, no end. It has no cause. It is irreducible. It is fundamental. So all objects are forms. All forms are phenomena. All phenomena are the arising and subsiding incessantly, eternally, as the modifications or modulations or vibrations of Chittakash. What are you? Chittakash, infinite being. Where are you? Well, you really have no location. Location is a misperception. The only reason you think you have a location, whatever that location is, it's totally arbitrary. Addis Ababa, Adelaide, Australia, Timbuktu, New York. These are concepts, okay? We made them up and we gave coordinates, latitude, longitude, time of day, etc. Just like when I ask for your email, you give me coordinates, okay? Or I ask for your, how can I text message you? You give me coordinates, a number. The number is provisionally chosen. So all location is provisionally chosen. It's a concept. And when we realize that, then the body is a concept and the mind is also a concept. Okay, so what's real? Real is, can't be a concept. Real is that which gives rise to every concept as form and phenomena, which then is experienced as the world out there, or the body here, the body-mind here, or the world out there. In reality, there's only out here, the Chittakash. Everything else is impermanent. Okay. Now, if you put your attention out here, so remember the phrase, Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you put your attention here and see the world from here, perceive the world from here, which is where the world exists, out here. Okay, and the world is changing, the body is changing, and everything is changing as form and phenomena. This is the infinite non-change. And this is what we are. Okay. That's why the wisdom traditions say who you really are was never born and is not subject to death. Water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it, fire cannot burn it, and weapons cannot destroy it. It's unborn, not subject to birth, death, disease, or infirmity. Put your stake here, out here, and you will find freedom, not overnight, but slowly. Freedom and power and creativity and every human aspiration exists in potential out here. This is where we are. What we are, infinite being. When are we? Not in time. Okay, we are timeless. And where are we? No location, non-local. Reflect on this, experiment with this, and let me know if this has been helpful in any way whatsoever. Or am I just shooting the breeze? Thank you and have a wonderful day.